Hello, I'm Mr. Snapper.
And I'm Red Snapper.
And this is Project Nutmeg. We've moved cross-country with dogs twice. By cross-country moves, we mean multiple days and nights on the road, thousands of miles, hundreds of miles, I don't know.
Thousands. We moved from St. Louis to Los Angeles with 2 Dalmatians decades ago. And we moved from Los Angeles to Dallas with Bus and Coca in the late 20-teens.
We also moved one way from Hot Springs to St. Louis in an 8-hour day trip. I don't know that I would consider that cross-country.
I wouldn't call it cross-country, but I would say it was a day trip. It was a long day.
It was a long day, that's for sure.
I think we stopped in Cape Girardeau for Lion's Choice sandwiches and bathroom trips.
Oh, man.
We're going to give you our tips for moving with dogs. Some of these tips are applicable for those day trip moves like Hot Springs to St. Louis. But our focus in this video is the long haul.
Emphasis on long.
Long.
And emphasis on haul.
Truly a haul.
A haul. When they say like, oh, it was a haul. Yeah, that's what it is. We have 5 tips for moving cross-country with dogs so everyone has the best, safest experience possible.
Step 1 is to prepare. I have been in charge of logistics for each of our moves, which means planning the route, the stops along the way, lodging, and all of the administrative aspects of the trip. This is all stuff that you can start working on months in advance. And it's a great idea to do that because there are a lot of things you can't do until the last minute. So everything that you can plan is a great idea to do early.
It's kind of like packing, really. Anything you can pack like weeks and weeks in advance, pack that stuff. Make sure you have your pet's health records and take care of any vaccinations they'll need for your new home.
Make sure your pet is microchipped and your information is up to date. Research lodging along the way that's pet-friendly and can accommodate your moving truck if you aren't shipping everything or using moving pods. We wanted to use pods, but we found out that they couldn't put it on our street. But whatever, we had to pivot and bring a truck instead.
Yes, and on that move to Dallas, we got a flat tire, which put a kink in Red's well laid out plans. We couldn't make the miles we had hoped to make, so we had to pivot from the road to find a new hotel. It's a good idea to have fallback plans.
You never know when you're going to have to change your plans. We rerouted 2 days before we moved because there could be snow along the route.
The reason why Red does the logistics is because when I do the logistics, I choose the northern path. I took the first swing at the logistics from Los Angeles to Dallas and had us going along the, whatever it is, I-30, I think. If you take the northern path through the desert, you go through more mountainous regions, and we were moving in February, so there was a chance of inclement weather. I will say in my defense, the original plan was we were going to use a pod, and then I would be driving the car, we'd all be in the car together, and it'd be much safer. But as it turned out, we wound up renting a truck, and you were driving the car by yourself, I was in the truck by myself, I was with Buster, you were with Coca, and so we were concerned about road conditions. And then, like the day before we took off, you came up with a new plan that was the southern route that would avoid any possible bad weather.
It's true. And I did want to stop at the Wigwam Hotel on the way through because it's one of those Route 66 kind of old things, and it seemed so cool.
That's the northern path. Takes you past, the Wigwam hotels.
Yes.
Here's a picture of it. And yeah, that would have been amazing.
It would have, unless we had snow.
Unless we had snow.
We did have a flat tire along the way.
Step 2 is all about safety, specifically with travel. When we moved to Los Angeles back in the early 2000s, there weren't dog seatbelts. I mean, maybe there were, but we didn't know about them. Mm-hmm. Fortunately, Holly and Piper stayed in the back seat when we moved to LA, towing our belongings behind the car.
Side note, things you do in your 20s that you would never do in your 40s. Towing a U-Haul trailer behind a Honda Civic hatchback through the Rocky Mountains.
Yes, that was an adventure.
That was an adventure. We had to get pushed through the tunnel at the top of the mountain because our car didn't get enough air to do the things and drive properly.
It's very thin atmosphere.
It was
up there.
very thin.
For the trip to Dallas, Red drove our car and I drove a U-Haul truck. Buster, like I said, was beside me in the moving truck, fussing constantly and pressing against me, occasionally sleeping. He hated road trips. He hated being in the car.
He hated being in the car. It was the worst in the car. Even if we went like a mile from our house to camp.
He likes going places, but he hates being in the car.
He likes being there. He hates going. Meanwhile, Coca shifted between the passenger's floorboard and the seat. We had 2 dangerous occasions that prompted me to buy a seatbelt while we were on the road. She doesn't like loud noises. She was so scared by semi-trucks that she tried to dive under my feet while I was driving. That was occasion number 1. And then, near the end of the move, she climbed on top of the smaller boxes we had behind the driver's seat. So I couldn't see behind me, and it was dark. It was like the last haul getting into Texas. I couldn't see through the mirror. I couldn't see headlights. I wouldn't be able to, merge and turn properly. So I had to pull over onto some random Texas road to move Coca so that she would be in the right spot.
Oh, Coca. So get seatbelts, get dog seats, get that stuff ahead of your trip, and get your dogs used to using them. Nutmeg is used to riding in her car seat box, so she's pretty safe in the car. Coca's been with seatbelts now since the move. She's always seatbelted in the car.
And she's pretty good about it. And the 2 of them ride nicely together. And on the dog safety front, leash your pet. Keep them leashed when you exit the car. Don't do off-leash walks when you're moving. The stories of the dogs who eventually find their way home are heartwarming, but there's really no need to risk it.
Home free! That was dumb. And you will have to stop. Plan to make regular stops to stretch your legs together. Grab some food and water and relieve yourselves. By relieve yourselves, I mean pee.
Or more than pee.
Or more than pee.
Well, when we would stop with the dogs, one of us would go into whatever building, do what we needed to do, and the other would hang out in the car with the dogs. And then we would switch off, and we'd make sure that the dogs got walks as well, wherever we were. I remember moving to Los Angeles and trying to get the dogs to pee. They were pee camels.
Holly and Piper were definitely pee camels.
And poop camels.
But eventually, there's 2 funny stories there. The first one is, we were hauling. Holly had not gone, at all. Because I guess she was nervous. Dogs get nervous. They know something's up. Their entire world is being upended.
We'd been driving and driving and driving.
She hadn't peed the entire time.
She hadn't peed much if she peed. But we were at, I think it might have been a hotel in Colorado.
Vail? Did we stop in Vail?
I think we did stop in Vail.
There's 2 full-size
Kansas.
beds.
Colorado.
We get into the room. Holly jumps up on top of one of the beds and pees.
Like
Everything that she had been holding in up to that point came out on the bed.
Like, how does a dog... She was 45, 50 pounds. How does a dog have 5 gallons of pee inside of them?
Holly just let go, and it was, in retrospect, it was hilarious.
It was hilarious. It's of course. Stay at pet-friendly hotels for that very reason.
And then the second funny thing is that once we did hit Utah, I think all 4 of us did at some point going through Utah pee on the side of the road.
Yes, all 4 of us did pee in Utah.
At different times.
It was I gotta pee. I think there are 2 rest stops in Utah total.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, I gotta go.
But after she peed on the bed in the hotel room, Holly had no problem peeing outside on the rest of the move. So.
Yeah, she was fine the rest of the move. She just had to... Floodgates.
Just had to work it out, I guess.
Floodgates on that bedspread. We left it in the bathtub.
Yeah.
I didn't want them to use it again.
Yeah, no, God.
No.
Oh, gosh.
Oof. Step 3 is to provide comfort and familiarity. This goes for people and pets. I have plenty of allergies, And I know I can always navigate them with ease at Starbucks. We went to Starbucks several times during our move to Dallas, and the dogs did not mind at all.
Pup cups! You also planned our stops for cities that had PetSmarts. Bus and Coca had great experiences at PetSmart. They had obedience training at PetSmart. Their vet was at a Banfield inside PetSmart, and they enjoyed the smells at PetSmart. When they were in obedience training, we would show up early and we would just walk around the aisles, working on their loose leash walking.
We made sure to stop at one PetSmart each day so that they could have a break from the car and they could get lots of sniffs. When we had that unexpected flat tire repair, we killed like 45 minutes to an hour wandering around PetSmart with Bus and Coca, just up and down the aisles. Let's go look at these things. Let's sniff everything. We also took them to our nearest PetSmart right after the move as we worked to find the new normal.
From a dog's perspective, it's like, I know I'm not where I was before, but it sure as heck smells like I've been here before, so I think I'm cool.
Yeah, it was comforting. They have water fountains and they have human bathrooms. So if you don't need to stop and eat and to get gas and do a whole lot of stuff, you just I need to stretch my legs. I need to let the dog walk for a little bit. Stopping at one of those chain pet stores is fantastic.
And they tend to be located off of interstates and highways anyway, because they want to put them in a place where there's a lot of traffic. And obviously it's a retail store with a large parking lot, plenty of space to park your U-Haul. So it's we're big fans of the idea of hitting pet stores on your PetSmart, Petco, whatever, on your way cross country.
And they don't get upset if you don't buy something. You can walk in with your, they deal with pets. They don't care. I'm going to come in, I'm going to use your bathroom, walk my dog up and down your aisles, say thank you and leave. Nobody's going to get upset that you browsed all of the merchandise and didn't buy something. It's a big change.
And honestly, if anyone says anything, you just tell them, we're moving cross country. Our dogs really like PetSmart. They like being here, Petco, whatever. They like being here. And this is just a way to kind of, keep them chilled out while we move. And honestly, the people who work there are pretty empathetic towards pets. I don't see how it would ever be a problem.
I don't see how it would ever be a problem either. We got a lot of photos of them at each one where we stopped because it was a great experience for them.
Yeah. We also tried to keep their feeding and sleeping schedules as best we could. And we had soft toys in the car and truck that smelled like the pack. So lots of familiar smells, lots of familiar routine.
Routine is important. It's important for the people in the drive too. Makes it easier. Step 4 is healthcare consideration. If your pet has a health condition and might need care during your travels, make sure you're as prepared as you can be. Pack your overnight bag with their medications and any treats that you might need to administer that medication.
With smartphones and 5G, unless you're really off the beaten path, it's not that tough to find an emergency vet or a clinic. If you have a membership with a chain like Banfield, there's Banfields all over the country. But it's not a bad idea to jot down some names and numbers of clinics in the cities where you plan to overnight during the move, just in case you need them.
And we've talked about pet insurance in another episode, which you can click right here or click the link in the description. Even if you choose to enroll in insurance for the month before, during, and after the move, the peace of mind to know that you are covered when you're traveling is significant. Any peace of mind you can find during a time of great change is worth it.
You should also have an idea of where you want to take your pet in your new hometown. We scheduled Bus and Coca for a checkup at their new Banfield. Again, PetSmart.
Always PetSmart, right?
Not sponsors of this video, by the way.
No, but we would be happy to
We'd
have
be happy to if you're watching PetSmart. Mr. PetSmart.
And Ms. Banfield.
Right. Bus and Coca, we brought them to their new Banfield within days of arriving in Dallas. You want to establish that new relationship early so that you know where you're going to take them if you have an emergency or if there's some issue that comes up. Plus, and we talked about this in that previous video about dog health care, you want to establish that relationship with your vet.
Yes. Having the baseline, knowing what normal is is very helpful. The final step, number 5, is to help them acclimate to new surroundings after the move is over. Face it, the entire pack is exhausted from the travels and all of the changes. So set up their bedding and unpack the favorite toys as early as you can once you arrive at the new place.
Yeah, it's like saying, this is your spot. Dogs like to be reassured. We had an on-site dog park at our first Dallas apartment, and we took Bus and Coca to that park as soon as we finished collecting our keys and gaining access to the apartment. They went to that park 3 or 4 times a day. While there were rarely other people and dogs in that park, it was a great place to help us establish new routines and help our dogs feel at home.
They were used to going there. We'd go first thing in the morning, and then we'd go again midday, and then we'd go late afternoon, and then again before bed.
Yeah.
Since my day job was exclusively work from home, I stayed home with them the entire first week we were in the apartment. I didn't want them to get nervous and think that that wasn't our home. We had had a few different homes along the road, so I had to make sure you belong here. This is our spot. He had to do shopping runs and go get food and supplies and all of that while I unpacked and I comforted the dogs.
Those are our tips. Have you moved cross country with dogs? Did we miss anything? Drop a note in the comments. We'd really like to hear from you. And comments help small niche channels like us. It's always frightening to be the only person commenting on some weirdo's video. But we'd love to hear from you.
We would. And be sure to like, subscribe, and boop that bell for notifications. See us next time. Bye.
Bye.